Hello, my friends. It's Nanny from Nanny and the Moose. I just find myself thinking about all the things that go bump in the night, and that's those worries when you're waking up at those segmented sleep times. And I'm going to talk about some of those today. That brings up something else, and that's one of those we don't talk about things, and that is incontinence. Moosey and I think, as you know, are getting ready to take our trip up to Idaho to visit our son and his wife. And the countdown is on because Moosey and I have not traveled on a trip, and especially by plane, in probably maybe 6 or 7 years. And it's so different now. Of course, now we're mid-80s, and a lot of the health problems go along with that too. So bear with me. I'm also going to do a little bit of gardening outside today. I also have a new gardening jumpsuit that I'm going to show you when I get out there. And you know what? It matches one of those hats that I showed you at Easter time. And also I got my matchy lipstick on. So the gardening is going to cheer me up a little, but I am going to talk about some of those worries, and even concerning things like, gee, when Billy was renovating those bathrooms this past month, did he put in those high toilet seats so Moosey and I won't have to scream to get up off a toilet? Oh, also, that brings up something else. Incontinence. Oh yeah, ladies, I have found out that something like 75% of women between 50 and 85, and that includes a lot of us, suffer from this. Mostly one of the types of incontinence, and that's the stress. And I've read up so much about this. I've learned so much about it. Yeah, the Kegels, but do they work?
Don't laugh.
Oh.
Don't laugh. You'll make me pee my pants.
Oh, Moosey. Oh, dear. Leave it to my Moosey to come up with a joke for everything. At any rate, it's something, what I was just talking about, one of those words. But you know what? Everyone talks about it, and most people have suffered from this in one way or the other. Sometimes, if it's more of a severe problem, of course, I hope you are doctoring for it. But, you know, it gets down to, can I really wear this jumpsuit traveling or on a trip? You know, you have to modify your life a bit. And that's what I've come down to think about this subject. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. But it's going to be a lot of the little worries. You know, I've started to think, what can I bring on the plane? What will they take away from me? Will they take my collagen away if I put it in a little plastic bag? Oh yeah, that would look like something really bad, wouldn't it? So I bought little small things of everything. But my daughters keep telling me, Mom, just pack the stuff that you need in your suitcase. Just don't try and bring a lot of the stuff on. I got to stop the worrying because it's starting to get in the way of my enjoyment of looking forward to the trip. We never traveled when Moosey was not walking. Now, we did get wheelchairs for him only because he, at that time, had bad back problems, and he had the flare-ups, and the long walks in the airport were not good. So for a number of years, we did have a wheelchair for him. Didn't get one for me, and I was the guy that sort of ran behind the person pushing Moose in the wheelchair, trying to keep up, carrying the carry-on bags and whatever. And I've decided, you know, no way. Besides that, another one of my worries, within the past, I don't know, month or so, my hips and my knees have become more than little flare-ups. And I'm just chalking it up to little age problems. So far, Tylenol is great, and I don't have to take one every day, but I'm thinking about that. Billy can get a wheelchair up there. There's a local, like a consignment thrift shop that I love to go to when we're up there. And they're good friends of Billy's. Billy donates a lot of furniture and everything to them. So they would loan him a wheelchair while we're there. Plus, Billy has access to one of those carts with a motor little, it's like a it's not a go-kart, but it's something he drives around his property. So when we go up to the pond for hors d'oeuvres, sometimes Bonnie brings hors d'oeuvres up and we sit by the pond and the beautiful willow trees. And oh, now I'm getting happy when I'm thinking about it. But he can drive it. And this time, instead of me going up the hill, walking, getting my exercise, I think I'm going to take advantage of some of the amenities to be good to my body, because I don't want anything to happen while we're traveling. So to get back to all this, you know what I've decided to do? I do slug with my great big jars of Vaseline. And you all know slugging is just smearing the Vaseline on and leaving it on either overnight or for a couple hours during the day. And so I've gotten some small ones, and Moosey does use it too. He doesn't slug, but he does put it on his very dry skin. And a few other things I bought, the small toothpaste, and you try and think of what you did. Now the kids are helping me, obviously, giving me ideas. The other thing that I can't travel with because it's just too bulky along. We are taking Moosey's rollator. We are leaving his new wheelchair home because Billy can get one up there and Billy can do the lifting anyway, so I'm not worried about that. But I will need my tripod. And the last time we went up, I even brought my painting easel and all sorts of things because we went up in his beautiful big motorhome and came home in the motorhome, so I didn't have to worry about flying. So instead of dragging the one I'm looking at right now with the ring light and everything, it's rickety and it's 3 years old and the light's broken on the top anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is order a new one and just have it sent up there, and then Billy can bring it home when he comes home. So all these things are going through my mind. Now, Matthew is taking us to the airport, and they will evidently, Billy has ordered 2 wheelchairs to meet us at the curb, and evidently they take us in, and we're only having the one bag. We will have a carry-on, and I guess I have to take my iPad and various other things like that with me up there. There's so many places that I'm going to be able to film from. Up at the pond, I'm hoping to catch another bass, so hopefully we'll get that on film. We are taking a few little driving trips to local places nearby to have some picnics by the falls, and I love to go into the town of Kuski. We're looking forward to having a nice lunch in the local luncheonette. It's such a beautiful little tiny country town. Everything's tiny. And then there's all these wonderful friends of Billy's and neighbors. He doesn't have neighbors close by, but they all live along the river like Billy does. And they're going to be there, and they're having a dinner party after we get there. So we'll get to see all our old friends, especially the couple, the gal that gave us our beautiful lilacs that are, we have buds, they're starting to bloom, no, iris, the iris. And I just can't wait. We have 2 iris blooms already on those, and they're from Kuski. So we're looking forward to so much, but at the same time, I guess it's natural to have these reservations. I'm worrying, about the plane. We weren't able to get bulkhead seats for Moosey, and I know that he can't take his walker down the aisle, so he'll have to hold on. He has no balance. He can't walk alone. And we were able to get, I think, seats number 11 on opposite ends of each other. We'd like to be on the aisle if we couldn't be in a bulkhead. So at least we don't have to walk too far down the plane. Little things like that. The kids are saying, Mom, don't worry about all this. There are people that are going to take care of you. And I know that. You're hearing all my problems today. Thank you for listening. I don't like to complain to the kids. They have their own lives. And it makes me feel good just to talk with you. I hope you don't mind. I know a lot of them are superficial, and I'm just so grateful just for everything, for Moosey and I still being here at this age. Had a lot of friends leave this world within the past couple of months, and you think about it. You think about it, but we still have basically our health, our lives, our children, our families. We have you, and I'm so grateful. And I hope you don't think I'm going on. These are just little worries that are insignificant compared to a lot of things that a lot of people have. So please excuse me. I might as well stop telling you about my worries, but I am going to talk maybe after the gardening. I'm going to go out and show you what I've been doing. And Moosey says, please, will you help me plant some zinnia seeds? So I might do that. But when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about incontinence, because that's another one of my little worries coming up for the trip. It affected the clothes. They say, if you think you're going to be out for a while and you're going to sneeze or cough or laugh or cry or do jumping jacks, that's the other thing, don't wear anything light. Wear something dark. Well, as I was packing, I was thinking, I thought, nuts to this, They say to try this. Now, there are floor exercises you can do that involve breathing and the upper core and how everything affects it all the way down to the pelvic floor. There's things you can do, even standing on one foot for a while or doing those yoga pose and then opposite arm and leg out. Stuff like that helps. The Kegels, I don't think anything like that really works for the normal little stress incontinence or overactive bladder. I remember my mother, wasn't going to talk about this before we went outside, but let me just tell you a little story. It's not really a story. I remember once my mother, when I was a young girl, I don't know, 9 or 10, my mother said she had to go into the hospital for a few days because she was going to have her organs lifted. And that sounded so awful to me. I thought, what's your organs? And she said, well, all the things that are inside a woman, especially after you have babies and things, they kind of drop a little bit. Well, my mind had this funny thing. I remember thinking what this would look like inside my mother's body. But anyway, she did go in, had her organs lifted. I think they have a name for that now. But then several years later, one of my cousins, Maddie, beautiful gal, they had 7 children. After her 7th child, she also had her organs lifted. But by then, I think they called it the real name, prolapse or something. And that's something when people have severe problems with all this. But I have come up with 2 tricks, and I'm going to tell you about that help a little with all of this. And I'm going to tell you both of them after the gardening. So all my little worries that go bump in the night are starting to leave me right now. And one by one, we will get everything settled, I'm sure, before we leave. I think I'm ready to go outside. Moosey's out there. I'm sure he's got his pack of zinnias for me. And I'll show you some of the plants that I've been planting. And remember my hat, by the way. This is the hat one of the hats that I showed you at Easter time. The sun is out, and by the way, we're back in the 80s these days. So I thought, well, why don't I wear this one today? Still haven't put those up on the shelves, but those are worries that are putting in the back of my mind. They're not immediate right now. The hats are in the closet, but not up high yet. And these clothes are still there too. So I'm going out, ladies, and doing some gardening for just a little while. I'll meet you outside. So, what do you want me to do today?
These first ones that you bought are bizarro zinnias.
Okay.
And they're chartreuse.
Okay.
I've never heard of a chartreuse.
Well, we'll try it. What else do you have?
Yeah. And I have this one also to go up on the fence. A giant.
Ooh, I like
Giant.
that color.
They'll be cool.
Okay, and these are seeds.
These are the seeds. Yeah.
And what's the germination on these?
It says bloom in 35 days.
Oh, good. So when we come back from the trip, they'll be out.
This one here, I think, put in a pot, a portable pot,
Okay.
because those are multi-colored.
Yeah, I like those.
And if you like what they're doing, you can move them around different places.
Okay, I'll do it. I'm doing the chartreuse. I'm taking my finger and I'm making a long line. And then I'm going to sprinkle it in. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. Do you think one line will do it?
I think so.
Okay.
It'll be a show, isn't it?
Let's hope. Oh, here you are. Just planted these. Should be beautiful.
Should be, huh?
Yep. I have a little pot here, a pretty little pot. And what I'm gonna do, I might bring it up here.
That's the dirty side, huh?
Okay, this pot has some nice fresh potting soil in it. And in here, I'm gonna plant these zinnias for Moose. Are these big ones? Big fluffy ones.
Very tall.
Very tall. And I'm gonna put half the packet of seeds in here and see if we get a nice big bowl of them. So let's see how we do. Now, I'm gonna show this to Moose and see if he approves of what I did. Now way back here, I've planted an eggplant. Can you see it? It has grown probably 3 times what it was. So let's hope this comes up.
The fact that you're working in the garden is shown on your bibby. Look at your bibby.
Ah. Well, at least it's not at the other end when I sneezed. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But this is my society garlic with the flowers. Isn't this pretty? And I did have a basil plant die, but the new ones are doing fine. And I have 3 pepper plants, so looking forward to more of that steak fajita mix with the asparagus and the peppers. Right, Moose? That's turned out to one of our favorite dinners. That steak fajita with the asparagus and the peppers and the onions.
Man.
Wasn't that good? Okay, let me do this and then I'll go in and finish this up because I have to do the inside jobs. I've always loved this pot. We've had this for a while. It has a nice big drain hole in the bottom. So I've just put some new topsoil in here. The seeds are what? Fairly large. They're maybe twice the size of rice. That's interesting. And you're only planting them what? 1/4 of an inch down.
1/4 inch, yep.
Good. Good. 2 more pepper plants. And I think I even see some buds on there, so I planted those. We have some new gladiolas coming up that Moose planted. They should be beautiful. And back there are dahlias. By the way, those are those cute little gnomes that Debbie gave Moosey for his birthday. And look what's coming out in our iris from Idaho. And this is the 2nd year that they've been in. Isn't that gorgeous? And we have a 2nd bloom coming, so hopefully we will have more of these coming. So little by little, the garden is starting to bloom out. And I hope that by the time we come back from our trip, things will really be blooming. This is from a zinnia plant that has stayed and flowered all year long. Who just came down for her treat. Oh yes, yes. Look at that tomato plant, the height of it. You remember when I planted those. Now I had to take one out, but this is another one that's coming up. Looking good. The nasturtium is in bloom. This is really beautiful. And that doesn't take any care at all. Just loves her treats. Come on. I'm warm. Well, I just came in from the garden. It's beautiful outside. Managed to see Colleen and Micah, spend some time talking to them. And I hope that all the flowers and all the plants are just blooming like crazy when we come back from Idaho. Colleen will be taking care of them, of course, and Shannon and Colleen will both be taking care of the cats too. Well, to get back to one of the little worries of the trip, just one of the things I think that happens to many of us as we age. You know, I have a tickle in my throat. I hope it's not the beginning of a cold or a cough. I think maybe I just might need some water. Talking about stress incontinence or overflow bladder, those are two different things. And then there's one other kind. But the most common kind of incontinence, they claim, with women is stress incontinence. After childbirth, during pregnancy, or overweight, or for various other reasons, the muscles start to break down and there's pressure from various organs and things on the bladder, and that creates leakage. Well, for years they've told us that there's certain exercises you can do, the Kegels, and I really don't know what the success rate is on that. But there are also, I've seen yoga positions and floor exercises, things like that you can do. However, I think it's just one of the many little indignities that happen as we age. And you don't really even have to be older to experience this. Sneezing. I know Colleen was a sneezer forever and ever, and she said that happened to her all the time. Now she doesn't sneeze. For some reason or other, her sneezing has stopped. But you don't have to be advanced in years to experience in this. And one of my tricks now, and as I get older, it seems to be that I am voiding more. I get the urgency to void more than I did, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. But what I find helps is that when you go to the bathroom regularly, you say, especially if you're staying around the house or you're somewhere, if you time it and you say, all right, I'm going to try and go into the bathroom and void once an hour or once every 2 hours, if that's what you feel, that reduces the time that, meanwhile, you can laugh, you can cry, you can do, I don't know about jumping jacks, but you can do a few exercises and, of course, sneeze or cough, which is the big thing. Now, when I'm out, and I always make sure before I leave the house for an outing that I go into the bathroom. And then if I'm out, I don't like to use public restrooms, so I normally will not. And if I happen to sneeze, I don't usually, I do talk to people once in a while, might laugh a little bit, but not belly laughs. And I'm not going to be exercising, hopefully not coughing. Now, several years ago, I had a bad chest cold, and literally for a few weeks, coughing would just bring on terrible leakage. And in those cases, you just go out and you buy those pads, and that's one of the solutions. The other is do watch your clothing. And this is what they call modifications. I read something about this. If the Kegels and the exercises and everything doesn't help you, then just watch the kind of clothing you're going to be wearing if you're out for a while and you don't think you'll be able to get to a bathroom. But guess what? I sneezed in the garden. I didn't think I was going to be sneezing out there. Now, probably shouldn't have worn this, but who cares when you're in your garden? The other little tip and trick that I find is that you will have that initial voiding, and then you think, well, that's it, and you get up and go about your business. Well, I find that the bladder does not always empty completely, almost every single time. That if you sit there for a little while and either think about what you have to do or whatever, just wait a couple of minutes, sure enough, the bladder says, hey, wait a minute, I have a little more, I'm gonna go. And that seems to empty your bladder. And I find almost always, if I sit there just for a couple of extra minutes, for some reason or other, I get that little urge to, now it's not a lot, but it's enough to, I think, empty your bladder for a while. So try that. Not going to worry about it because I'm not going to have my organs lifted mom at this point in my life. Fortunately, I had 6 children and got through it pretty well all those years for some reason or other. It's just now in my mid-80s that it seems to be a little bit of a bother. But I would rather have a good belly laugh once in a while or do some exercising. I don't do jumping jacks. In fact, I never really could after I had children. What else? I cry, but that's not a biggie. Coughing, go out and buy some of those Depends or whatever the pads are. I don't even know what pads are like anymore. Most of us women over 50 and even 40 or whatever are suffering from the same thing. Just know you're not alone, ladies, in this, and just do the best you can on all of this. Try my little tips. Now, it's not rocket science once again, and I'm sure maybe you've figured out a way, but keep laughing. Don't keep coughing and crying, but keep laughing and exercising. Thank you for being with us here today. We'll talk a little bit more about the trip as time goes on, and I'm sure more things will come up. Didn't have a rabbit hole story. I have a lot of them in my mind. In fact, Colleen was telling me a couple more that I could be telling. There's so many I could think of. You know, you kind of have to work a rabbit hole story into a video somehow. You just can't come out and tell a rabbit hole story. I love you all. Thank you all for commenting and enjoying the videos. And I'll see you in a couple of days again. Goodbye for now, and God bless us all.